Carter, back with you for yet another Dad Season Show episode. We're calling this one episode 5 because it is the 5th episode in this podcast's history. I hope there will be many more. I want to start off the show with some housekeeping because the thing that podcast hosts love the most is housekeeping. We love to talk about the housekeeping. And my housekeeping for today is 2 to 3-fold, depending on how you look at it. First, I want to thank you for joining this show live on YouTube, as I am every Monday at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, the only legitimate time zone. I'm sorry to the West Coasters out there, or the Central Time Zone, or even more hilariously, the Mountain Time Zone, whatever that is. I don't even believe it's real. I mean, no one can actually convince me, but thank you for joining me. I would like you to subscribe to the podcast and to like this video. It helps me a lot. It helps to tell the all-encompassing, all-knowing, all-powerful algorithm that folks should be checking out the Dad Season Show, parents and non-parents alike, because we talk about relationships, and everybody has a relationship of some kind with somebody. Well, almost everybody. So like and subscribe. Also, the Dad Season Show, thanks to the unpaid interns at the Dad Season Show, is now on Spotify. I'd like to thank the unpaid interns. They are taking a nap right now after working for 49 hours straight. They wanted the 48-hour shift. I said, no, you must work 49. They're now exhausted. They're sleeping they're actually right next to me. They're just cuddled up, suffering from sleep exhaustion and dehydration, because we're not having water in here, only coffee. There's my coffee sip. So yeah, check it out on Spotify. I guess you could also like and subscribe there too. Subscribe at least to the Dad Season Show on Spotify. I do appreciate it. We are going to talk about a few things today. We're going to talk about how the dad on Bluey, whose name always escapes me, Bandit, and Chili is the mom, mom on Bluey. How Bandit makes us feel so bad as dads, and we collectively wish very much that Bandit wasn't such a good dad. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, as the podcast title would insinuate, the right that parents have to be interested and interesting. And I know you might say this is impossible. I have sometimes believed it is impossible myself to be interested in something or interesting to other people whilst being a parent, whilst being in dad season. It is not impossible. There are ways to do it. The thing is, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of cooperation between the adults in the situation. Real quick, before we start here, I want to try to corral the folks online and get them into the chat, because the chat is conspicuously quiet. All right. We are calling. I am calling folks to come into the chat. Thank you for joining us, Brett and Diego. Diego, longtime friend of the show. For as long as Dad Season has been around, so is Diego. Diego says, Denny doing a Dad Season show right now after the legal tampering period opens is very dad-like. Sorry, football, sweetie. The family needs me. I am going to be doing a lot of blurb grinding. I already wrote a piece on Russell Wilson today and made a video on Russell Wilson signing with the Steelers. Lots of Russell Wilson situations for me today. And check out Roto World, obviously, for all of your free agency needs. We will have it throughout the day, throughout the night. I believe Roto Pat was blurbing late at night with the Russell Wilson news coming down, I think after my bedtime, honestly. So we'll check that out. I encourage you to check that out. Hi, Tyler in the chat. And then hi, Brett. Brett Mason says he will never like or subscribe. Thanks, Brett. Appreciate it, buddy. I do appreciate it. All right. So if you've ever seen the kids show Bluey, and I'm not trying, I'm actually rethinking calling it a kids show because it really resonates. As an adult, I can say that it resonates. There is a lot in Bluey that makes you go, that is something that I struggle with. I can relate to these little cartoon dogs. Someone online today said, I will never take parenting advice from a cartoon dog. And that's fair. I actually think that that's fair. I would also suggest that you rethink that stance because my guy Bandit is a pretty good dad. Apparently, I believe there's a New York Times piece from many months ago that documented Facebook groups and other online communities based around the fathering acumen of the dog parent, the dog dad of Bluey, whose name is Bandit. And I keep forgetting that. Bandit. Bandit Healer is his name. It's an incredibly it's a heartwarming show, sometimes heart-wrenching. It's very sweet. It's very well done. Maybe you probably already know that, but I am encouraging folks to check it out if you have kids. If not, maybe you still check it out. Maybe you never know. If you're dad curious, if you're going to be a dad soon or whatever, you just check it out. But the thing with Bandit is that he's so patient and kind and loving with his kids. Yes, I mean, there are times in the show where he loses his cool a little bit. He says things that he ends up taking back or apologizing for. Not perfect, which is good. We don't want a perfect dad. That's no good for anybody to try to live up to that. Hold on one second. But I think the TLC that he offers his dog children is really worth living up to. I will say that I think that his um, ability and freedom and willingness to play with the kids, which is a central part of the show, is a little much. It's I don't think as dads we need to try to emulate that part of it because we're not like if you like playing like that, and roughhousing or whatever, play acting, using your imagination with the kids, that's great. I do think that that's good. I try to do that sometimes. As a kid, I had an overactive imagination. Okay, I actually really wish that my imagination had been tamped down a little bit. It would have helped me with all the anxiety of growing up. But it was very active, as folks who knew me back then could attest to. Uh, I don't, for better or worse, I don't really have that imagination anymore today. It seems like Bluey's dad, Bandit, really does have that imagination. I don't think that that's a necessity as a dad to say I'm going to be the constant playmate of my kid, to always be there to play forever and ever. Amen. I don't think that that is necessary because it's just not realistic. And also, I don't know if you, I don't know if you should build that expectation within your child or your children to say, hey, dad's always going to be there, always going to be there to play with you. I mean, you have other stuff to do. You have stuff to do around the house. You have stuff to do for work, other family stuff. Okay. Sometimes even, and we'll talk about this in a second, hanging out with other people outside the house, which I know is something you haven't done for years and years. But so it is sort of building an unreasonable expectation. I think the playing part, but I would I would recommend folks, as much as I resent Bandits, just eternal patience in this show. I will say that I've watched many episodes with my daughter, who's 7, and I come away thinking I need to be more like that cartoon dog dad, because he really, really just connected by not engaging as we talked about in previous dad season shows, not engaging in power struggles. When the kid is begging, when the dog children are begging for a power struggle, they're saying, come on, Bandit, let's struggle. And he says no. he says no, and he turns it into a game, or he just becomes the bigger person. I guess in this case, the bigger dog. And it is a shining example of how to get along with kids. I think without being completely their friend. I think that there's a balance to be struck there. I don't know if we really want to establish a relationship with the child to say, first and foremost, I'm your friend. I don't think that that's the healthy thing to do. All right, let's get to your comments real quick, and then we'll get into the meat of the show. We love the meat of the show, folks. Kyle is in the chat. Kyle Myers. Hi, Kyle. He's excited to get his dad grind on. I would say don't Google dad grind. That would be just my suggestion. Ted Deal is in the chat. He says, in dad free agency news, I hear Caleb Williams' father is being traded to Baltimore for Lamar Jackson's mother, a much better uncredited negotiator. That is something there with Caleb Williams' dad. I'm not sure how that's going to work out. Kyle says, my son has no interest in Bluey. I think he hates Australians. That's wrong, man. That's not right. By the way, is there any the Outback Steakhouse commercials? Can this be more offensive to Australians? Are there any? If there are any Australians in the chat, please chime in, because I cringe when I see the Outback commercials, and the accent, I don't know, just the general themes of the commercial. It's all very cartoonish as far as portraying Australians goes. I don't know how I feel about that. Diego is here back in the chat. I think we also have different personalities getting back to Bluey's dad named Bandit. I have a great friend that does goofy magic for his kids and mine, but I'm way less fun, and I don't really like playing imagination games. I'm with you. I like playing sports games, some would say, sprots, and I do that with the kids. By the way, oh man, I'm gonna have Monday updates for you guys going forward on my flag football team. I'm the coach of a flag football team in a league that starts on, I believe, St. Patrick's Day on Sunday, and my son's playing, and it's the first time I'm coaching flag football since before the pandemic. So this is 2019 was the last time. We were the Packers. We were not good, but we had fun, and that's important. And I've already drawn up some plays, guys. Listen, I'm taking notes from Kyle Shanahan, from Mike McDaniel, from other coaches who established the run, because there's not much passing in little kids flag football, as you might imagine. And I'm trying to get some misdirection going in this league to get my fast players in the open field. That's the key here. So I'm going to update you every Monday. I'm going to tell you how the games went, how many rushing yards we had. I'm going to throw it back, folks. I'm going to throw it back. We're going to establish the run like it's 1977. Okay. I'm bringing in Arthur Smith as an assistant. He'll be there. I'll take pictures of him. I'll let him know that you all are thinking of him and his efforts in Pittsburgh, with now Russell Wilson as his quarterback. But yeah, we're going to be hyper conservative, and we're going to play good defense, and we're going to tackle. We're going to just tear the flag off. The thing is, though, there's no blocking. Did you know this in flag football? You're not allowed to block. I don't know about that. I'm not out there telling the kids to pancake their opponents on the field, but maybe get in their way. I have to clarify. I have to clarify what no blocking means exactly, because some of my plays that I drew up on the whiteboard the other day might have to be thrown in the wastebasket, because they require some blocking. Anyway, Brett back in the chat. Any dad who ever played the swing the kid around game only to learn that the kids never get bored with it while your arms can tire out can attest. Yeah. So I think Brett is referring to the game where you grab your kid's hands. I think this is what Brett is saying. And you swing, you just go in a circle real fast and you swing them around. Now they feel like they're going 150 miles an hour. you're actually just going in pretty slow circle, but they're light enough so that they're flying. They're almost weightless. I've done this many times with my kids, especially my daughter, and I end up nauseous. I'm not just talking about like a little woozy because of the spinning. I mean, I'm like laid out after that. I can't. I've actually told my daughter I can't do this anymore, honey. I'm really sorry, but Daddy feels like he's going to throw up all over the place when he does this spinny game, as she says it, the spinny game. All right, Diego back in the chat. I'll spend 30 minutes patiently showing my kids how to make pancakes, though, and trying to encourage confidence doing it. There you go. There you go. I mean, that's all. That's all it takes. I think you do want to be involved. Okay, we're not World War II dads. We're not boomer dads. I mean, boomer dads are different. I think that boomer dads made generally more of an effort to be involved with the children. But we're not greatest generation dads who are not going to play ball, or what did they say, play, not play catch, but have a catch. Have you ever heard that term? I feel like I hear it in old timey movies. Dad, do you want to have a catch in the backyard? Yes, son. Let's go have a catch. I've never said that. What is that? You mean play catch? Have a catch? I feel like it's inaccurate. First of all, you throw just one, you're having one catch. I was hoping for more. Anyway, that's a weird phrase. All right, Matthew in the chat says Coach Denny cannot draw up plays as he has never watched a game. No. No, absolutely not, Matthew. Look, yeah, I've never watched a game. I've watched the dots, buddy. Okay, and I see how the dots move, and that's what I'm drawing on the whiteboard. I'm drawing dots moving in different directions. Okay, so I'm gonna actually call my players dots. Dot number 1, dot number 2, dot number. Don't tell me your name is Jake. I'm not calling you Jake. You're dot number 3, buddy. Get ready to speak dots, buddy. So I can draw out the plays. You have no idea. David Miller in the chat says, got to save my energy and the horsing around for the 3 to 4 pool trips in a year. Oh man, you are right about that, David Miller. The amount of energy that is required to play with a kid in the pool is tremendous. My son used to like to be thrown in the pool when he was little, and he would want to do it over and over and over again, where I would take him under the arms, and I would put myself underwater so I could get a good push off the bottom of the pool and really, really extend and throw him into the air as high as possible. My wife, my mother-in-law, others, they did not appreciate this too much. Okay, they didn't like seeing their little baby flying through the air. I was very careful, though. I take pride in having, I don't know, spatial awareness, things of that nature. But he wanted to do it over and over and over, to the point where, you're gassed. You're gassed. You're okay, kid. I'm done. I'm finished here. I can't do this anymore. You have exhausted me. I'm not Derrick Henry. Okay, like I don't have unlimited stamina. I gotta stop throwing you. I know you only weigh 27 pounds. I get that. I get it. I know I'm a grown man. I also understand that. But this doesn't work for me. I've thrown you 75 straight times. Okay. My arms are shaking at this point. For some reason, like my hamstrings hurt. I have no idea why, but they do. So can we take it easy? Can we take like maybe like a 5-minute break so I can get like my muscles rubbed down and like hydrate, be put into some sort of oxygenated chamber to recover? So yeah, pool stuff can be tough for sure. All right, well, I think we're ready for the meat of the show. If for folks who missed it at the top of the show, Dad Season Show is now on Spotify. My interns, unpaid, obviously unpaid interns, are working vigorously, looking very strongly into putting the show on iTunes. We have to figure out how to download iOS 17, which has has proven difficult. through many, many Google searches. We're going to keep trying that and get it on iTunes as soon as possible, but check it out on Spotify. Okay, on to the meat of the show. A parent's right to be interested and interesting. Now, I talked a couple weeks ago, I believe. Yeah, it was the episode before Roto Pat came on. And by the way, check out the Roto Pat pod, Dad Season pod. I think it worked out really well. We're not earnest guys, okay? Me and Pat. We're very ironic. We are steeped in internet culture, so it's hard. It's really hard to flip that switch from too cool for school to earnest and straightforward and forthright with the folks. It's hard to do that. You can see me flipping back and forth during these shows. I'm still getting used to it. It's a totally different form of speaking to an audience, and I am really trying. I know. Look, my wife has encouraged me to stop the joke after joke after joke after joke format. She said that's a little much. It's a little much. She's encouraged me to stop doing that long before I started podcasting. So I do understand. I do understand that that is a shortcoming of mine. I'm working on it. But in the meat of the show, in the heart of the show, I'm going to stop. I got to stop saying the meat of the show. That's one thing I have to stop doing. I got to put it in my notes. Do not say the meat of the show. We're going to call it the heart of the show going forward. I don't want to hear anything about the meat of the show. I want to hear about the heart of the show. By the way, Matthew says iOS 17 is a psyop. You're right, because I can't figure it out and I don't like it. And anything I don't like is a psyop. That's what the technical definition of a psyop is: anything I don't like. And you can see that play out again and again on various internets. All right, so parents' right to be interested and interesting. I recommend highly that you get this book. This book called Fair Play by Eve Rodsky. Excellent writer. Has done unbelievably large amounts of research into what makes a relationship work, and maybe more importantly, the things that get in the way of a working relationship, especially among people who have kids together, but not exclusively. This book has helped me understand a few things about parenting and being a better father and husband that I really wasn't aware of years ago. And so I have a lot of highlights in this book. I could probably do, like, I don't know, 6 to 8 dad season shows just on this book. And maybe I will. Maybe over the long run, I'm going to come back time and time again to Fair Play by Eve Rodsky. And yes, this is my my bookmark is the a Target $5 bill. We're not sure what that is. This obviously brought to you by Target. No, I'm kidding. They're not a sponsor. We're Target. If you're listening, I have a little Target $5 bill. If that's of interest to you, I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. So yeah, there is a significant part. Some would call it one chapter on on being interested in something and being interesting to other people, including your partner, while having kids. I can speak, for myself. I have struggled with the dilemma of remaining interested in things and into things as a parent, because I am very, very into things that I'm into, if that makes sense. Okay. You can see behind me, I have I have 2 David Bowie albums. There's a third one. There's a third one right there. 3 David Bowie posters behind me. I have 4 books on Bowie. So I got into Bowie in like 2016 and haven't stopped. And so when I get interested in something, I get really interested in it and I go all in, and it's all I want to do. Okay. So to not be able to do that anymore when I had kids, particularly second kid, was hard. It was difficult to accept. And you enter into, I think what can best be described as like a woe is me phase, right? Where you say, like, oh, I used to be able to do this and that, and now I can't. And all is lost. All is lost. It'll never be the same. And the thing is, this is called the dad season show because this is but one season of your life, and the season will be over. It will be over, I promise. Whether that's good or bad for you, it'll be over someday, and you will probably regret not doing more with that season of your life. I think that I'm on my way to regretting that. I'm trying not to. I'm trying to kind of lay the foundation so that I'm not, uh, you know, mired in regret one day. But you will have the chance to be into things and to be interesting once again when your kids grow up. But it's going to require a lot of effort when they are young. Okay, a lot of effort between both by you and if you have a partner, that person, right? And the biggest, I think that one of the biggest hurdles that you're going to encounter is the aforementioned "woe is me" mindset. If you walk around saying, "I used to be able to read books, I used to be able to go play golf," and that, I do. Look, I know, golf is problematic on many levels. I get that, and I believe, an adequate amount of guilt over enjoying golf. I have been a golf nut on and off for most of my life. I played since I was 13 years old. Okay. And okay, so I feel bad. I hope you all feel good about me feeling bad. But I used to play a lot of golf, a lot of golf. So for a while there with two kids, I was walking around saying, man, the good old days are gone. I used to be able to just say, hey, honey, I'm going to go play 9 holes at, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday when we were just sitting around doing nothing. I'm going to go play 9 holes. I'm going to go to the range. You want to come to the range with me? Sure. Let's go to the range. Why not? We're not doing anything. So we go to the range. Hey, you want to go get a drink after the range? Sure. Let's go get a drink after the driving range. Excuse me? This is the greatest day ever. I mean, for me right now, this sounds like the greatest day ever. That was just a regular Sunday for me back then. And so you do, I think, it kind of get mired in this mindset. And if you can't overcome that, if you can't recognize it, if you can't counteract it, you can't really get anywhere with this. You can't start applying the solution and to becoming interested and interesting while raising little kids until you recognize that. Okay, so that is important. Stop feeling sorry for yourself, buddy. It's not so bad. And like I said, if you're really down in the dumps about it, just remember it'll be over one day, and you're gonna feel bad as shit about feeling bad. Okay, so try to get in front of that. All right, I'm gonna read something to you. I'm gonna read an excerpt, some would call it, from this book. Oh, there we go. Fair Play by Eve Rodsky. All right, so well, that's not it. Yeah, here we go. Actually, I wrote it down. I forgot. All right, here we go. The thing we don't feel permitted to do often. Oh gosh, I'm going to start over. Thankfully, I can edit this out. The thing we don't feel permitted to do is often what has the depth to keep us interested, and is also the very thing that makes us more interesting to our partners and nearly everyone else. This is called the permission paradox. As easy and often deeply satisfying as it may be to point the finger at our spouses and partners for obscuring the former, less encumbered version of ourselves, our partners aren't entirely to blame. We need to hold ourselves accountable for whatever voluntary steps we took toward losing sight of our right to be interesting and turn on our heels and find ourselves again. We must reclaim our right to be interesting. Both parents must demand more time and space to explore this right. This space doesn't exist until you create it. That hit home for me, that last part, because it's like, of course it doesn't exist until you create it. How can that space exist as a parent until you actually set out to say, hey, I want to make that for myself. I want to carve out little slots of time where I can be interested in something and I can still be interesting to other people and myself. You want to be interesting to yourself, don't you? Right? And it doesn't just appear. It doesn't just appear. You got to do it. You got to make effort. You got to talk with your partner maybe about it. Not maybe, you definitely have to do that. And you say, I need this time. I need to do this for myself. Call it whatever you want, okay? Call it self-care. Call it like taking a break. Whatever it is, you can do this, right? It seems impossible. It does seem impossible. And I would say that largely this is a problem that affects the women in a relationship with a guy. Because I think as guys, we're largely brought up, and I know not you, but me and other guys, brought up to believe that it is our birthright to do what we want when we want to. This is just how things are. Okay. If I want to go play golf, I simply go play golf. If I want to sit down and read a book, here's what I do. I grab a book and I sit down and I start reading. It doesn't matter what's happening around me. That's what I do because it is my birthright. I think maybe some women have that mindset, but not a lot. I'm guessing not a lot because women are raised and taught a completely different mindset that you can take time for yourself when time permits, but otherwise you have to be at the beck and call of everybody else. And so you enter a relationship where one person is pulling and the other person is ceding ground, and eventually that becomes a problem. And it had that, as you as you may suspect after that little rant, that has caused problems with my relationship with my wife, is my constant pull and her constant giving. Okay. And for a while, like before kids, it worked. With one kid, it kind of worked. Not really, but it kind of worked. Eventually you get to the point where the responsibilities start to multiply, start to add up, start to become more of a burden on the family as a whole. And one person is shouldering too much, and that person was my wife. I'm still not perfect, obviously, in that area. My wife's listening. She's probably screaming at the phone right now, maybe throwing it into a local ocean, a nearby ocean. Okay, the Atlantic, we'll call it the Atlantic Ocean. She's throwing her phone in there because she hears me talking about this, and she says, you're still not perfect." I'm not perfect. You're right. I hope I'm getting better. And being able to split the workload with her a little more all the time helps her to carve out the time she needs, not wants, needs. It's a need. It's a base. I think it's a basic human need, especially I would say a Western need. Okay, like because we're taught we are the center of everything. What we need and what we want is most important, right? So if you grow up with this mindset, you're going to need this to feel like yourself. And by this, I mean free time. I mean time to do things that are interesting to you. Okay. I don't mean scroll Instagram, by the way. Okay. I'm not besmirching anyone who does that. I scroll my phone all the time. But I'm not talking about like I just need 15 minutes to scroll Instagram. That's not exactly what I'm saying. I'm talking about a hobby. Okay. Many of you who know me know that I turned my hobby into a full-time job. I turned it into a career. I liked fantasy football, so I simply made it my career. This was inevitable. When I look back on it, it was inevitable. I've talked to my best friend since middle school about this several times. Of course I did that. What else was I going to do? I was going to get so into something that I just made it my job. I just made it what I do. And that's what I did with fantasy football. Now I do it full time for NBC Sports. Check out NBCsports.com and subscribe to Peacock. This is what I would say to you because I'm a company guy, first and foremost. Let me read a little more to you about from I keep doing that from Fair Play. So Eve Rodsky writes this: allow yourself to dream. Wouldn't it be great to have more time and space to reconnect with yourself? Asking couples this question pretty consistently results in some combination of, quote, I wish, and an equally emphatic, quote, but there's no way. Unicorn space, this is what she calls this, this time for yourself. Unicorn space will remain the stuff of fairy tales until you and your partner are able to rebalance the workload between you. Like at Thanksgiving dinner, it's only after you remove filler from your plate that you have room to add more of the good stuff. Making room for more doesn't come into play until well later in the book, and that is, I think, something that we need to take seriously. Is saying, like, look, I I want to exercise. Um, I want to exercise, I don't know, 5 days a week, 4 days a week. I don't know. It depends. It depends on how I'm feeling. So I'm gonna wake up early. Or are you okay with the kids if I work out a little bit after, um if I work out a little bit after work, or after, what the kids don't get home from school, things like that, right? It can be as simple as that. It can be saying, hey, I'm gonna get together with my buddies once a month on, and I don't know, the second Saturday of the month, we're gonna watch some games together and drink 2.5 hard seltzers, but no more and no less. Okay. And to be able to make those requests, and to say, how can we make time for that? And honestly, I think that most people with partners would say, yeah, you can, sure, let's work this out. Let's work this out. If you really do value the person, you will do that. You will do that. And there's very little limit to how much you'll do that, because if the person needs it and they're telling you, I need it, then it's just something that you need to figure out how to do. Speaking of the exercise part, I know it's hard to find time to exercise as a parent. I get that. Um, I'm having my buddy, my fantasy Mensa partner from way back in the day, Pete Overzet, on the Dad Season show next Monday at 1 o'clock live on YouTube. Really happy that Pete can join me. Pete has written eloquently about working out, about finding time to exercise whilst having a baby. And he has a very young daughter. Actually, she's probably not as young as I think she is now, but I feel like Pete and his wife had this baby just April, 3 seconds ago. She's probably like 18 by now. Anyway, Pete has written a lot about working out when you get the time. You got to stop being so precious about it. Okay, like you're not in college anymore. You can't go to the gym and stretch your hammies for 15 minutes before you get on the treadmill. Okay, like you got to find time. I don't know, do some damn jumping jacks. Okay, go old school. But Pete will have a lot to say about that. We'll talk about other stuff as well. Don't forget to check that out next week. All right, before we get into the rest of this being interested and interesting piece of the show, I want to get to the comments here. Thank you for joining, as always. Nathan, hi Nathan. Nathan's in the chat. It says, I have a theory about this that boils down to your connection to your partner becomes way more important, and also way harder to maintain time and energy wise. A fundamental reconsideration of your relationship with time is needed, and it's not easy. It's not easy. So before kids, you had a lot of slack, right? Like I said earlier, the Sunday driving range drinking situation. You had more free time than you knew what to do with, literally. Okay, like you didn't know, you would be bored. Oh, what do I do? There's nothing to do today, which is just a crazy thought when you have kids. There's always something to do. And so, yeah, like Nathan says, a fundamental reconsideration of your relationship with time. It's a really good phrase, Nathan. I'm glad I came up with it. Nathan beat me in the fantasy league, so I'm still upset about it. So I'm going to take his little phrase there. Anyway, you should reconsider it, and really put effort into carving out pieces of time where you can feel like yourself again. Because honestly, look, we love our kids. They can make us not feel like ourselves. They can sap us of the energy of the life that we remembered before we had kids. And you kind of become a zombie, especially when they're very young. Okay. This is not the woe is me mindset. I think that this is just an acknowledgement of reality as a parent. Okay. In the 21st century, especially, and as a dad in the 21st century. And so you need to make an effort and even sit down. Look, I'm definitely not a type A. Okay. Uh, but there are some type A. The type A's know something. Okay, they know a little something about organization. So you really do need to sit down with a notebook, or maybe some sort of tool on your computer or phone to say, here's what I'm proposing, and have carved out pieces of time for you to do your thing, whether it's some dumb hobby like fantasy sports, or if it's reading, if it's writing, okay, exercising, knitting, taking a walk in the woods, whatever it is, okay, you can do it. You can do it. It just, instead of, before kids, it took no effort, zero effort. With kids, it's going to take a lot of effort. That's the difference. So thank you for that, Nathan. Yeah, Nez in the chat says fair play is really good. Yeah, I really do recommend folks read through that when they get a chance. Brett back in the chat. I miss being able to decide to go someplace and just get into the car in under 2 minutes. That was, yeah. I remember like going to a Baltimore Orioles game like on a Wednesday after work. I mean, like, honey, would you like to go to an Orioles game? Yeah, sure. I mean, Baltimore's 45 minutes away, like without traffic. And we just got in the car, we drove. They played the White Sox. The Orioles were really bad, so we bought nosebleed tickets for like $9 a pop, and we sat 50 rows ahead of that, and no one was there. We ate sunflower seeds and drank beer and ate hot dogs, and it was wonderful. And it was a Wednesday night, and we just got in the car and we went to an Orioles game. That was cool. I remember that, and those are good memories. It's also over. I mean, I just let's be clear, that's over until, of course, dad season is over, and then you can resume getting in the car on a Wednesday evening, going to an Orioles game, and eating sunflower seeds, barbecue sunflower seeds. By the way, obviously that goes without saying. Malti is in the chat. Anyone here with kids under 3 having energy left to feel the need to become interesting? I mean, that's fair. That's fair. This person later says, after cleaning everything, the little whirlwinds leave behind and prepare everything for the next day. Yeah, I mean, listen. Don't get me wrong. I do think that there is a case to be made about just not having it in you to do the things that make you interesting, to do the things that keep you interested. Okay. So I understand that. And look, I have 1,000,000% respect for single parents. I actually don't know. I don't know how it's done. I don't know how single parents do it. It's amazing to me. Like I don't understand it the same way I like don't understand like physics or like Oppenheimer. I it just it just goes over my head. So I can't really speak to those situations, because if there's no one to share the load with, then it's just a different calculus, I guess. But if you do have someone with whom to share the workload, that the whirlwind of cleaning up everything, preparing everything for the next day, that can be split up. That can be shared more equally. And I do think that's worth looking into. And that's not going to be fully embraced, especially by guys, because it's not the deal that we were promised. I mean, no one actually promised it to us, but society, American society, particularly in general, would say that, as a dad, you go to work and you earn and you take care of the resources for the family. But cleaning up and getting ready for the next day, that's somebody else's job. We're not sure who. We have to look into that. Whose job is that? Oh, yes, it's your partner's. And your partner's becoming more resentful by the minute about it. So to get to use Nathan's phrase, the reconsideration, your new relationship with time. That's definitely not what Nathan said, but now I can't remember what he said. It has to go hand in hand, uh, with a different sort of workload sharing. All right, let's get to. Um, but Sarah says, "Hey, you guys are still married, so you must be doing something right." Yeah, I hope that I am. I hope that I am. Probably the progress is not as steady as we would like it to be, as I would like it to be. I can speak for myself. Um, oh, yeah. So getting back to Pete Overzet. Pete Overzet will be on the Dad Season Show next Monday at 1 o'clock on YouTube, and on Spotify, where Dad Season Show is now available. Diego Lopez says Pete Overzet is offensively fit for being a new dad. He is. It is. I'm going to tell him that, Pete. Um, your level of physical fitness is problematic. It is. I don't like it. I don't. I don't. I would prefer you don't make me feel such shame, Pete. I went on a wonderful beach trip with Pete and his wife and Pat Thorman and John Daigle and other folks and their families and their partners. And this was in summer 2021. And went on the beach. I was a little self-conscious about my dad bod, but not feeling too bad about it. I know. You're not supposed to feel any kind of way about your body. I know. Body positivity and stuff. Look, I have 40 years of wanting to be ripped to overcome mentally and psychologically, right? So I take off my shirt on the beach. Pete takes off his, and mine goes right back on because, my God, Pete's ripped. There's no way around it. He's ripped, and I would like to also be ripped. Pete, tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. I refuse to do any exercise, but I maybe if I eat more carrots or something. Yeah. So Brindo maybe is in the chat, says I miss having energy at night. I feel you. I feel that. Okay, I get that. I'm not sitting here being like, oh, if you simply rebalance the workload and simply adjust your relationship with time itself, everything will be fine. And you'll be interesting to other people, and you'll be able to keep up with the news, and you'll be able to read books, and you'll be able to say at parties, hey, guess what I read the other day? I read that this and this and this, these facts about the Spanish Civil War or something. Okay. Like, no, it's not going to be easy. You have to want it. Okay. You got to want it, baby. Okay. You got to be Rocky Balboa, training 12 hours a day, drinking egg yolks. Okay. I don't do that, and I wouldn't recommend it for you to do that. But you gotta want it. You gotta want it bad. But I do understand not having any energy, and guess what? Here's the thing. You get bitter. You get bitter about that. Okay, because you used to have a little energy at night, right? To like go out, to like hang out with people, to like I don't know something crazy like well, watch a movie. We used to be able to watch movies. Me and my wife. We used to be able to sit down at 8 o'clock on a school night and say, hey, would you like to watch a movie at 8 o'clock? We'll be done by 10 or 10:30. If it's a Christopher Nolan movie, we'll be done by 12:30. And we used to be able to do that. But no, there's nothing. And I fight it. And this is probably not a good thing. Okay. And as I'm talking about it, I'm realizing it's not healthy. But I fight this by going downstairs and trying to watch a movie at like, I don't know, like 10 o'clock at night. Okay. Like my bedtime is at 11 or like 11:15, depending. If I'm feeling crazy, I might stay up to 11:15. Right. So I go down at 10 and I'm like, let's watch a movie. And within, I don't know, 15 minutes, I'm doing that thing where you're closing your eyes. You all know what I'm talking about. Please in the chat, tell me you know what I'm talking about. I'm begging you. Where you're closing your eyes and you're going, I'm just going to listen. I'm just going to listen to the movie. I'm going to enjoy the movie while closing my eyelids and just enjoy just the audio version of this movie. I'm gonna digest. I'm gonna consume this movie like it's a podcast. That's what I'm gonna do. And that's not, that's not happening. Here's what that means. You're gonna be asleep. You're gonna be asleep. Your sleep drive is out of control. Okay. Your brain is begging you to close your eyes and to go to sleep. And you're saying no. And yeah, I mean that does make you bitter. Well, why can't I have a little energy? Why can't I have a little fun after the kids go to bed? And my kids are 11 and 7, and so their bedtimes are way later today than they were even 2 or 3 years ago. And so 2 or 3 years ago, both kids were in bed. Everything, all the bedtime stuff was done by 8 o'clock on the dot. Now that I could deal with. Okay. The 9:30, 10 o'clock stuff, not so much. That's hard. Brendo says, "I've never closed my eyes. Sorry, I'm built different." Hey, you know what? I respect that. I respect that you're an alpha. You're an alpha. Maybe I'm a beta. That's how it goes. Diego says, "I've also found that trying to steal time or sneak in me time is a worse choice than communicating with my wife about what I want to do and when I'd like to do it." Oh man, Diego, you crushed that one. I'm so glad that you brought that up because yes. All right, here's a story. Here's a little story about me and my wife. The other day, I was super tired in the middle of the day. I'm talking like I can't like open my eyes anymore. Like I have to lay down. And so I just went and laid down. And I napped for like 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. And my wife said, I would have I would have appreciated if you would have said, "Hey, I'm going to go lay down." Because she was looking for me in the house and she didn't know where I was and she had some things to talk to me about, some housekeeping stuff to do, right? And I wasn't around. And like Diego said, I tried to steal me time, okay, with that little nap, and it was a way worse choice than just saying, "Hey, I'm really tired. I gotta lay down for a few minutes." And my wife would have been fine with that, and I truly believe she would have been fine. Okay, see you when you're up. And that would have been a much better choice on my part. It was a bad choice. I tried to steal it. You just and I think that's where the mindset comes in, right? Where you say, I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna take this me time. I'm gonna take this nap. And that's the overall. It might not be a problematic thing every single time, but overall, over long term, I think that is a much worse choice than just communicating, with your partner. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Look, Brett Mason is saying Pete Overzet should be canceled for being so physically fit. I'm not going to push back. If you look, I'm not going to cancel him myself. He's my buddy, my friend in this industry for a long time in the fantasy industry. So I'm not going to cancel him. But if you all want to cancel Pete, I guess it is what it is. I'm not going to stop the popular will. Okay. All right. I'm going to read one more little thing from Eve Rodsky's Fair Play. Check that out if you can, especially guys. Guys got to buy this book, man. Come on. All right. So Eve Rodsky writes, after having children, many of us feel that we're no longer seen or no longer see ourselves for the vibrant individuals we are. Instead, we take on the corresponding identity for the various roles we play now. Spouse, caretaker, parent, household manager, list maker. In my own mom circle, many of my friends no longer refer to themselves by their first names. With no apparent irony, they post as hashtag Braden's mom, hashtag Sawyer's mom, hashtag Hazel's mom. Some even sign off email correspondences this way. According to the 2018 State of Motherhood survey by Motherly publication, 59% of moms reported being, quote, most strongly defined by motherhood. I get it. I'm so proud of the time I've been able to care for and get to know my children. But outside of school, play dates, and kids' birthday celebrations, Can't my non-work identity include something of what made me a good friend, a fun dinner companion, a talented, talented, it says fill in the blank, writer, I suppose, because she is a good writer. Consider consider what you were once known for among friends and loved ones, and how often do you identify yourself with that special something now? I think the answer, the honest answer for a lot of us would be never. You never identify as that person now, uh, because you have a kid or multiple kids, and that's who you are now. And I guess what I'm suggesting today, in the heart of the show, not the meat of the show, the heart of the show, is that it doesn't have to be that way if you don't want it to. And almost that almost sounds simple, too simplified. It's not simple. It's not simple, and it's not easy. None of this is simple or easy. Okay, it's straying away, recognizing the authoritarian parenting model, and denying it and not using it. That's hard. Okay, splitting up the workload more fairly within the household, it's really difficult. And I think that either you have discovered that, or if you try it, you will discover that too. None of this is easy. And there are no tips or tricks to becoming, I think, a better partner and a better a parent. There's, there's nothing easy about it. It's not something that you can just Google and be like, ah, yes, I will simply be a better parent. It takes a lot of effort. But there are avenues toward maintaining interests and hobbies and things you like to do, things that remind you of yourself before children. And there are avenues to being more interesting to people, to be able to go to a social event and talk about, I don't know, something insane like current events. You can still do that. It just requires the effort to reacclimate yourself and to say to your partner specifically, hey, I'm going to require this amount of time, this slice of time every week to do this. I need this. And your partner cares about you and presumably loves you. So I think the answer will be sure. We can work on that. And that's the shtick for today. Okay? That's the main cause of today's podcast, episode 5. Before we go, Matthew has a request, an honest request. He says, a dad season show for the wives to discuss our struggles, uh, and mostly our L's, our losses, and managing this balance. Denny, speak to the wives. Hey, that's actually a great idea. Sarah says, do you and your wife also plan and do things together away from the kids? We do try. We go on dates sometimes, not often, not as often as we should, but we do make that effort sometimes, especially after like long periods of being with the kids together. I appreciate everybody in the chat, and the request. I know. Look, this is if we're going to be upfront about it and honest about this. This is a guy problem, a guy caused problem. Okay, the women in the chat and the wives in the chat, they're hearing me talk about this and they're going, this is not an equal opportunity situation. This is men not taking the role that they should take to rebalance things and to help me carve out time for myself. My wife once got pretty upset about me being able to read a very long New Yorker article. I didn't get it at the time. I said, "Well, you should simply read the article if you also want to read, if you also want to know these things about whatever situation it was." But I realized that I had just, like Diego said, stolen me time, and I get it. If the tables had been turned, I would also be a little bit pissed. So I think recognition, consciousness about these situations, I think, is important going forward. Thanks everybody for joining me for episode 5 of Dad Season. Next week, Monday, 1 o'clock on YouTube. I will have Pete Overzet for episode 6. Hopefully Pete will not be as physically fit as I remember him. I'm kidding, of course. Pete's a handsome guy, insanely in shape. I'll stop talking about that now. Yeah, thank you for joining me. And remember to like and subscribe to this channel on YouTube. And I'm on Spotify now. Dad Season Show on Spotify. See you next week. Until then, it remains Dad Season.